Hello everyone and welcome to the NCERT Science Series, and in this particular series we are going to discuss the science portion class wise and that too chapter wise. We are beginning with the class 6 NCERT. The name of the book is Curiosity, and that is the point. Class 6 is the point from where children start learning science with a new enthusiasm, new curiosity, like asking questions in every single thing. Why is the water blue? Why is the sky appearing blue? And then slowly and eventually they get their answers, right? So let us begin with the list of content in this particular book, which we will be covering chapter wise. Today we are going to do chapter number 1, which is very basic chapter, and that is why it is going to be a short session. However, there are other lessons as well which will come episode wise, and as you can see, diversity in the living world is in class 6 as well as in class 12th. So the difference in the level of study will increase slowly and gradually. So you are from any background, you are from any class, you can watch these series. If you are from class 6, then it will help in your exams, and if you are preparing for SSC, then also it will help you in your exams. For whichever examinations you are appearing for, I'm pretty much sure this will help you. So it starts with thinking and observing all around us. If we will notice our surroundings very nicely, that means we have a scientific temper. We have a curiosity to know things. There are times when we travel to places, but we fail to notice even small little things, that the river is forming George, or the river is flowing in a definite pattern, in a definite shape, and these leads to future questions, or these leads to questions which are asked in one day examinations later on. So that is why observation is very important. Thinking scientifically is very important. The question why is very important. You don't have to travel very far to notice all these things, that there are mountains, islands, say desert, etc. Even if you look in the mobile phone which we all are using these days, then we will see there are different types of phones. There is your Android phones, then there is your OS system, iPhones are there. So if we will observe very carefully, then we see that there are different types of processors, or in simple words, there are different types of mobile phones, different types of technology available, right? Similarly, if we are, say, swinging, which is a very simple activity, at a point we are at rest, but we have the potential that if I will push my, say, leg on the ground, then I can go forward. And once I am in that motion, it will continue, it will not stop immediately. So there is the involvement of different types of energy. Similarly, in a river as well, it can be flowing like this, and at some point of time you must have seen that there are dams which are built, and sometimes it is made to fall from a height, sometimes naturally it is falling from a height. And in all this process, what is actually happening, the potential energy which we will eventually study is being converted into kinetic energy, or something is happening because of which we are able to generate the electricity. So that is the reason. If we look at a very simple example, say sometimes we want to cook something in the pressure cooker. First of all, it will be cooked only if the fire will be lit, or if it is on an induction plate. So there are different ways and different modes of heat transfer. And second, the pressure cooker may sometimes throw out water, and there are also cases when the pressure increases to this kind of a, say, level that it can burst. There is a small little, I told observation, it is for everyone irrespective of class. If you will see, there is a small little valve, and if something is clogging that, something is blocking that, and if something is blocking after you remove this whistle, there is a small, you can see, opening. If one rise is also blocking it, it is very dangerous. So these are the two things which needs to be checked regularly on a pressure cooker. So even in cooking, even in the kitchen work, even when chopping, even in the swing, in all these day-to-day activities, there is the involvement of science. Next, let us have a look in the nature around us. If we will look at the nature around us, then sometimes we will see that there are small little particles of sand. Sometimes we will see there are sand mountains. Sometimes we will see sand dunes, and sometimes we will see that there are grains, there are rocks. So all these different structures are nothing but the material from the earth itself. But due to undergoing different kind of pressure and different kind of temperature over a long period of time, they will take different shapes. Sometimes the same carbon is coal and the same carbon is diamond. So if we question why, that means we have a scientific temperament. Now if we go to the depth of the ocean, then what do we see there? We see, say, corals, different types of beautiful fish. If anybody has done scuba diving, they can actually visualize all these things. So that is the nature and observation around us. If we go to a forest, sometimes we will see there are tall trees, sometimes we will see there are short grasses, and then we see sometimes there is sunlight passing through the entire region of the forest. Sometimes only through a very small space, the canopy of the forest, or a very small opening only, the sunlight is passing. So these are different cases where observing itself gives us many answers in life. It is like a puzzle. Science is a giant zigzag puzzles. There are different new discoveries. Every single day, every single minute, there is a discovery happening. And at least if you don't say that, okay, some big discovery happens every minute, but at least some realization, some understanding, some experiment is going on every time across the world. So it is a big puzzle, and we are still exploring. The universe itself is still expanding, and we are also still exploring. Science isn't magic. It is a step-by-step process that helps us to find the answers of all our questions. If we take, say, one example, in our home itself, in our planet Earth, then in all the life forms which we see around us, we will see that there is some science or the other. If we take a small seed, and say if we take a lentil or any gram for that matter, chickpea for that matter, when it is in the seed form inside our containers, it will not give a plant. But if it will be dipped in the water overnight, soaked in the water overnight, and if next morning we keep it outside, we will see that by evening it will start sprouting. If we put it in the ground, we will see that there will be the growth of a plant. Then slowly that plant will become a tree. So all these are nothing but the energy which this plant is taking from the soil, and then the plant is growing. This is a life process, and there is the involvement of various functions of the soil and the various activities that the plant is doing. Similarly, if we will observe a caterpillar, if we have the opportunity to see it, we will see that a caterpillar step by step turns into a butterfly. Silkworm, there are stages of larva, cocoon, etc. And then there is the process of taking out the silk threads. We observe all these things are happening in the nature or around us. We see that if this plant is taking the food from this soil, then this baby calf is taking the milk of the cow. And this is how nurturing happens. As grown-ups, as adults, we take food. We take food for the purpose of doing our day-to-day activity. So we are consuming food as a fuel, right? Just like a car will require petrol, diesel, CNG, etc., we human beings need to eat food to do our day-to-day activities. And across India, if we will look into different states, then there will be different cuisine available. There is North Indian cuisine. See, this probably the picture looks nearest to litti chokha to me. In South Indian cuisine, there is idli, dosa, etc. So all these food is consumed. Then for survival, what is very much important, most important is the water. But where is the water coming from? Where is the rain falling from? And what happens to the water on the ground? Why the river which we are using never dries up? So nature has arranged the water cycle for this. All these things are there later on in detail, right? Water cycle is there where there will be the rainfall, then there will be evaporation, clouds will be formed due to this condensation, and then there will be precipitation. So all these processes are involved. In simple terms, if we see the water, if we keep it in the ice box, in the ice trays, it will be converted into ice. So there are different states of the same matter which we study in states of matter. Now let us take the example of a scientific temperament. If something is in problem, if somebody is in problem, if say for example the pen stops, then we observe, okay, why it is not writing. Then somebody will guess, or we ourselves also have multiple guesses, why the ink has dried. Is that the case? Why it has stopped writing? Then some other will guess, maybe the nib has broken. So there are different guesses that we take. Then if we open to refill, then we see that the refill is empty. That means the guess that, okay, the ink must have finished, that is the correct guess. But if that is not the case, that means there can be clogging, some other problem might be there, and we have to start our experiment and questioning and guesses again, right? So till a problem is solved, there can be different experiments in science. We don't need a lab coat for this. We need to have a scientific temperament and scientific method to solve and to, have the solutions to our problems. Now, if we look at the night sky, we see that there are various stars. We see there are glowing objects which are twinkling. That means they are stars. Which are not twinkling. That means they might be planets, right? So, based on this also, there is an entire journey which we do, which we study. Some part we study in science, some part we study in geography. And based on all the observations which are around us, we will become a wise person. And to be a wise person, you must be a wise person. You must ask yourself questions like why? The sky is blue. Why the water is blue? When it is there in the ocean or in the pond or in the lake, when it is in a glass, it is transparent. So how come it got the color? What is the technology behind it, or why it is happening? So all these questions need to be asked. Okay, so this was a very simple, only introductory class. I'll see you in the next class where we will learn more and in details. Okay, so please subscribe to the channel if you don't want to miss this science series. From basic to advanced, we will go step by step. Thank you everyone. Take care. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.